years ago, Cartoon Network first appeared on the air, and ever since, the channel has brought us dozens of creative, diverse, and unforgettable cartoons, some of which are up there with the best in the medium. They've never been afraid to take risks with their content, and most of the time, they've paid off spectacularly. Whether you like them now or not, it's safe to say that TV animation would be a lot different if Cartoon Network had never come around. With this video, I want to celebrate everything that makes this channel so special. But in order to get a grasp of how great Cartoon Network truly is, I've decided that I need a little help. Joining me today are 9 other content creators who are here to share their favorite shows from Cartoon Network throughout its many eras. This may be one of the stranger lists out there for this topic, and you'll probably disagree with the picks or the ordering. But I hope you'll see how different each person's experience with this network has been, and see how much it's changed over the past 25 years. This is the Top 10 Cartoon Network Shows Collab.
Hey everyone, it's Louisa Sim, and today I want to talk about one of my favourite Cartoon Network shows, Clarence, and also one of the most recent shows, but despite being recent, I think it deserves to be somewhere on this list. Now, I'm a sucker for slice of life shows already, so I knew I was going to like this as soon as I started watching it. And the show also reminds me a bit of Ed, Edd and Eddy, which is a show I already love, so points there. But really, the real reason why I love watching Clarence is because it just makes me smile. Despite having a more realistic slice of life tone, it just makes me happy whenever I see it. Clarence himself is such a likeable, optimistic character, and so are the rest of the characters, especially the kids, because they all gel together so naturally. It shows kids acting like kids, and that gives off a nostalgic vibe for the adults watching. When something serious happens, whether it's between the adults or between the kids, it always shows it in a very believable way, and it shows it from the kids' point of view, which is really interesting when you think about it. I always like it when they do that.
I'm sorry I took your fries.
Oh, well, I'm sorry I tried to kill you.
It's okay. It made it more fun, I guess.
Yeah, it kinda did.
Twins?
Sure.
Friends.
Yep, friends.
The animation, albeit, is very simple, but I really like it because it suits the tone of the show. It's almost like a children's drawing when you think about it, but this show has some of the most adorable moments of all Cartoon Network, which again just makes me smile all the more.
Oh, wow, this looks like a nice shirt. It's just, a little bumpy here. This is 100% cotton laughing shirt. Man, please, not in the store.
I could watch this show all day and feel so content with life, and for that, I love it for its simplicity and optimism, and I recommend it to anyone who just wants to relax and chill out. Thanks for that, Clarence.
Clarence. Watch all new episodes of Clarence, Monday nights at 7, 6 Central.
It's worth it.
On Cartoon Network.
Hi there, I'm Monsters Review, and some of my favorite shows of all time have aired on Cartoon Network. The Gundy Tartakovsky action cartoons, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and the list goes on. But the cartoon I'll be talking about today is rather unpopular, and even though I'm not certain if this is actually my favorite Cartoon Network show, it is the one that I'm the most eager and excited to talk about.
Attention campers, it's time for Camp Lazlo.
There were the scouts who made a friend, and Lazlo was his name. Oh, L-A-Z-L-O.
L-A-Z-L-O. L-A-Z-L-O.
And Lazlo was a Slimer.
Camp Lazlo is about an energetic spider monkey named Lazlo and his peers and their experiences at Camp Kidney, a somewhat dysfunctional and beaten down summer camp. Despite Camp Kidney lacking resources and having poor leadership, Lazlo and his friends try to make the most of it with their high spirits. Who would have thought that a show about the outdoors and Mother Nature would catch the attention of an introvert like me? It was created by Joe Murray, the same guy that created Rocko's Modern Life, and it lasted 5 seasons from 2005 to 2008. A lot of people have criticized the show for its similarities to Rocko and SpongeBob SquarePants, with its anthropomorphic characters, similar visual gags, and comedic taste. But I'm sure handing them a list of the cast and crew will silence their criticisms. A lot of both Rocko and SpongeBob alumni worked on this show, such as Meriwether Williams, Ken Osborne, Mark O'Hare, and Derek Drymon. I'm honestly indecisive about my singular favorite aspect of Camp Lazlo, but I can praise it for many things. The show has exceptional sound design, making use of bizarre and well-timed sound effects and music to create comedic effect, beautiful backgrounds and art design, and visual gags that'll make you cry of laughter.
Here we go, boys!
Zing zing!
All green jellies. It's weenie time.
Go ahead, Samson. We'll notify your next of kin.
Hey, this is way above average.
In addition to simply being entertained by the show, Camp Lazlo also taught me many life lessons and morals growing up that I didn't really get from a lot of other cartoons. Some of my favorite episodes from this show are Burpless Bean, I've Never Been in a Sub, Racing Slicks, and the TV movie Where's Lazlo. Now, I think Camp Lazlo gets unfairly grouped among cartoon fans with other shows from the mid-2000s that tend to have negative ratings among the general consensus, like Mike's and Partners and Monkeys and Squirrel Boy. But I don't think that's very just, and I honestly couldn't recommend Camp Lazlo enough. If you enjoyed early SpongeBob or Rocko's Modern Life, or if you just enjoy comedy cartoons with hilarious visual gags, make sure you give Camp Lazlo a watch.
Really feels good, doesn't it?
Just like old times. Let's do it again.
He's one happy camper, Camp Lazlo, premiering Friday, July 8th at 8 on Cartoon Summer.
Batman the Brave and the Bold is a cartoon that ran from 2008 to 2011 and features the miscellaneous adventures of an Adam West-like Batman. One of the things that's great about this cartoon is it has the personality of the 60s show while keeping the action and gadgets of the modern day Batman. The show focuses on the lesser known characters of the DC universe. It assumes you already know Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, etc. And despite none of them being completely absent, they tend to take a back seat. Instead, opting for heroes like Aquaman, Blue Beetle, Plastic Man, and Green Arrow. They might not be obscure, but they're characters that are rarely put in the spotlight. If there's one thing the show does better than its heroes, it's its villains, choosing only the weirdest, wackiest, and silliest of Batman's rogues gallery. And yet, despite all of these odd choices, the story still managed to immerse you in its vibrant world of costume vigilantes. The show works because it cuts out the Bruce Wayne side of the character. Sure, there are episodes on his tragic origin, but Batman rarely, if ever, even takes off his mask. This is effective because instead of getting caught up in Batman's double life, it decides to focus on the exciting parts of his stories. The action, the comedy, the hilariously overcomplicated evil contraptions. This, along with its comic book-like style, can only be summed up in one word: fun. And that's the same word I use to describe the show. This is what makes Batman the Brave and the Bold, in my opinion, one of the best cartoons on Cartoon Network.
Find out in an all-new series of Batman Brave and the Bold, coming soon to Cartoon Network.
Billy and Mandy initially started off as a segment of a show called Grim and Evil back in 2001 alongside Evil Con Carne. Eventually, Billy and Mandy became its own separate show later in 2003. It's a dark fantasy show about the Grim Reaper who ended up becoming best friends with two spoiled kids after losing a game of Limbo. This cartoon has some of the most entertaining trios in animation. Grim is the sadistic but also really cool guy who ideologically identifies himself as evil and fantasizes about killing Billy and Mandy, but you can surprisingly relate to him a lot given how both of them torture him on a daily basis.
Excuse me, have you seen two? Ah, there you rascals are. Oh, come on. At least I have clothes on this time.
Billy is this idiotic kid who, while seems to have his heart in the right place, can be very unfocused, irresponsible, and reckless, but can also offer some amusing moments. And my favorite out of all of them, Mandy, is the cynical, violent, and angry girl who's a complete nightmare to Grim, wants to become a world dictator, but is also transparently caring, as she's usually the one who ends up saving Billy when he's in trouble.
Come on, Grim! Hide and seek! Hide and seek!
Sure, I'm game.
Okay, we'll play, but on one condition. Not it. Ooh, ooh, ooh! Not it!
Oh, come on now.
Come, Billy, let's hide. Grim, count to 50.
The show is this weird but perfect mixture of dark and twisted with silly and cartoonish, in which both sides complement and balance each other. The humor can be very sarcastic, cynical, and mean-spirited, but it can also offer some juvenile humor like fart jokes, which, believe it or not, does actually work. The show also occasionally breaks the fourth wall in a humorous way and can make a few references and parodies of movies, television shows, cartoons, anime, and others.
Let him get away!
I know you're close, you dirty human!
Hey, I'm not dirty, I just had a bath 15 days ago!
Gregory Hinde and Drew Newman's performance in the background music was great. They not only did their best to compose new music for each episode and not recycle too much, but their score would always perfectly fit the tone of the scenery, and while their music does feel very synthesized, they're well composed.
I forgot to mention that super chicken eggs have acid yolks!
I hate these eggs!
Billy?
Hate them! Hate!
The stories themselves are always amusing, creative, and given how this cartoon manages to harmonize both the concept of good and evil, and write evil characters to behave in such a casual manner, to the point where the world doesn't feel very black and white, it allows the show to introduce some intriguing premises with some interesting and unpredictable outcomes. If you're looking for a show that perfectly represents Cartoon Network's artistic integrity and creative freedom of the early 2000s, Billy and Mandy is probably what you're looking for.
Destroy us all! Destroy us all! Destroy us all!
I'll take the chicken.
You two are killing me. The all-new Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. It's good grim fun. Fridays at 7 and 10:30 on Cartoon Network.
So, Squirrel Boy.
Hey, Rodney!
Nah, I'm just kidding. The Powerpuff Girls is undoubtedly one of Cartoon Network's greatest cartoons of all time, as well as one of the most unique original series to ever be released by the network. With a whopping 6 seasons, a movie, several animated specials, comics, video games, toys, and an airplane of all things, it just goes to show that this Cartoon Network franchise has one impressive legacy. After Professor Utonium mixed up some sugar, spice, and everything nice, and an accidental dosage of Chemical X, BAM! The Powerpuff Girls were born. The series follows the 3 bug-eyed weirdo girls as they go around protecting the city of Townsville by fighting crime and evildoers that are attempting to wreak mayhem and destruction across the entire city, because despite their nice and cutesy appearance, they're actually formidable superheroes. The trio consists of Blossom, the leader of the team, who emphasizes intelligence and strategy both during fights and in her everyday life, Bubbles, who's just a small little bundle of joy that loves animals and creativity more than anything else, and Buttercup, the toughest of the 3 who loves getting the thrill of beating up bad guys and saving the day. The show typically tends to revolve around the trio encountering monsters and supervillains that are causing trouble, and saving the world before bedtime. It's full of incredible fight scenes focusing on these innocent little girls beating up these fierce, menacing, and sometimes even grotesque bad guys. One of the biggest highlights of the show, however, is actually the cast of villains. The show is such a huge range of character types, from the dim-witted amoeba boys who can't do anything right, to none other than the devil himself, him. However, out of all the villains in this franchise, the top dog, or should I say chimp, is none other than Mojo Jojo, the girl's biggest arch rival and arguably best character in the show. Nearly every episode he appears in seems to have that shining moment that makes him tick, whether it's an overly long monologue about how he plans to destroy the Powerpuff Girls, or just him complaining about not having enough eggs in the fridge.
1 egg left? For a nutritious breakfast, 2 eggs is the minimum requirement, and I have but 1, which is one shy of 2. And it is 2 that I need. Curses.
I admire this series for having some of the most creative ideas I've seen in a cartoon, on top of its ability to balance action and comedy, as well as counteracting the more intense episodes with some casual, slice-of-life moments. This is a series I can wholeheartedly recommend to anyone. Just avoid the reboot. Trust me. I speak from experience.
You think earwax smells neat?
It does.
The Powerpuff Girls, November, on Cartoon Network.
Safety first!
Saving the world before bedtime.
So I'm going to have to end this video here and split this collab into 2 parts. Part 2 should be up in about a week or so, and while you wait, you can check out the wonderful people who contributed to this video. I'm Nintendo, and stay tuned.